Greetings and welcome to another Pokemon 2019 or Pokemon Journeys anime episode review. This time I'm talking about episode 122, so let's get to it. Episode 122 begins outside the Rose of Rondelands Hotel. The participants and the staff of the Masters Tournament are staying in this hotel for the duration of the tournament. The episode then cuts to Ash and Go's room, where Ash soon wakes up to find Go working on something. Ash approaches Go wondering what he is doing. Go reveals that he was up all night because he received a ton of pictures and documents of Project Mew, so he wanted to organize the information in his own way, since this will allow him to be ready when they call him once it's time to begin the project. Ash is amazed by Go's dedication. He then says to Go, "Do your best and find Mew." Go says that he will, and he says that he is counting on Ash to get it through the semifinals. Ash says that he will. The episode then cuts to the outside of the hotel, where Ash's Pokemon all train individually. Ash soon stops them and he praises them, saying that they are all looking nice and sharp. This compliment delights Dragonite, who decides to lovingly embrace Ash. However, this embrace ends up being more of a full power tackle, and so Ash and the Dragonite end up crashing through some bushes. They slide on the ground for quite some distance and they end up right next to Cynthia and Garchomp, who happen to be nearby. I have to say that Cynthia looks great in a casual outfit like this, and I love that her hair ornament and her shoes still match the color and the style of her usual outfit. So Cynthia is surprised to see Ash and the Dragonite. She then assumes that Ash and his Pokemon were doing final preparations before their battle. Ash confirms that this is the case and he wonders if Cynthia is doing the same thing. Cynthia says yes, and she has Garchomp fly. Garchomp flies around while doing some crazy maneuvers which surprises everyone else. Garchomp then lands and she starts shadow boxing until Cynthia tells her to stop. Cynthia then massages Garchomp's back. Cynthia reveals that this is their pre-match routine and that massaging Garchomp like this balances out Garchomp's muscles, which improves her maneuverability. Cynthia then has Garchomp fly again. This time Garchomp flies even faster. This surprises Ash and Go, who exclaim that the massage helps a lot and that Cynthia is awesome. Garchomp then shows off just how much sharper she is now with some more shadow boxing. And Cynthia says that Garchomp is looking good. A girl and a boy then appear. The girl excitedly runs towards the Pokemon, exclaiming that there are so many Pokemon. However, the boy stops her, presumably because he believes that she will bother everyone else. But Cynthia says that it's all good, that they can come closer. Pikachu then approaches the girl, who is delighted by this. After getting Ash's permission, the girl happily embraces Pikachu, which is adorable. The girl then approaches Dragonite while saying, "This Pokemon is Dragonite, right?" She then embraces Dragonite while exclaiming that Dragonite is very tall. The boy, on the other hand, is still worried that he and the girl are being a bother, so he stays back while trying to keep the girl in check. However, Ash says that the boy can interact with the Pokemon as well. The boy says thank you and he introduces himself as Vic. He also says that the girl is his little sister and her name is Toria. Cynthia, Ash, and Go all introduce themselves as well. Vic says that he knew Ash and Cynthia already because he knows that they are in the Masters 8 and he has seen all their battles. Ash thanks Vic for the support and Cynthia wonders who Vic is rooting for. Vic says that he is rooting for Leon, but that Pikachu was also cool. He then exclaims 10 million Bolt while striking a pose. This surprises Ash and Pikachu. Vic wonders if he can also use 10 million Bolt Thunderbolt. Go says that the 10 million Bolt Thunderbolt is a special move that only Ash's Pikachu can use, because Pikachu is Ash's partner and they have been adventuring together for a long time. Vic is amazed when he hears this, and he says that he already decided that a Grookey will be his first Pokemon. He then says that he will evolve his Grookey all the way to Rillaboom and he will Gigantamax it, just like Leon. Go says that Vic will have to evolve his Grookey into a Tawaki first. Vic says that he will, because he wants to use an awesome move like 10 million Volt Thunderbolt. Cynthia says that she believes that Vic has what it takes to do this. Now I love that while Vic talks, Toria is in the background playing with Gengar and the Dracovish, which is adorable. Vic then wonders what Cynthia's first Pokemon was. Ash is curious about this as well. Cynthia reveals that Garchomp was her first Pokemon, that they have been together ever since Garchomp was a Gible and that she got Gible from an egg. Go says that he expected that Cynthia's first Pokemon was Turtwig, Chimchar, or Piplup. I did think something similar. I thought normally a trainer in Sinnoh would start their journey with Turtwig, Chimchar, or Piplup. But Cynthia is such a badass that she started her journey with a Pokemon that evolves into a pseudo-legendary Pokemon. I guess that she was just fated to be the champion of Sinnoh from the very beginning. Also, she basically got the easy mode of Diamond and Pearl. Vic eagerly wants to hear the story of Cynthia and the egg that had Gible in it. So Cynthia, Ash, Vic, and Go sit down on a bench while Toria plays with the Pokemon. Cynthia begins to tell the story, which leads to a series of flashbacks of when Cynthia was young. Cynthia says that you never know what will hatch from a Pokemon egg. So every day, she wondered and wondered what the egg would hatch into. Thinking about this made her heart race. Then one day, after warming the egg with all her might, the egg hatched into a Gible, which made her very happy. The flashbacks show that Cynthia would read books to the egg. She would sleep while hugging the egg and she would always hold the egg whether she was sitting down or watching the rain. This is all so sweet, so endearing, and so cute. Seeing Cynthia embracing Gible warmed my heart. And young Cynthia is just way too adorable and precious. After Cynthia tells her story, Ash mentions that he got Lucario from an egg. Go adds that it was a very mysterious egg, because it refused to hatch no matter who warned it. And that while various regions investigated the matter, no one found any answers. However, the egg ended up calling out to Ash. Ash says that he sensed the egg's aura. Vic says Lucario is the aura Pokemon, isn't it? And he then says that Lucario is very cool, which makes Lucario smile. Cynthia says that perhaps Lucario was waiting for Ash. She then reveals that even she heard about the mysterious egg. Given her extensive knowledge, I imagine that she was consulted regarding the egg. Cynthia then says while looking at Lucario, "So you were inside that egg." Now I love this revelation because it shows that Lucario is such a special Pokemon that even Cynthia, the champion of Sinnoh, knew about Lucario's unique situation. And since Lucario will likely be the ace in Ash's battle against Cynthia, it's very cool that Cynthia now knows that the Lucario that she will battle against is not just any old Lucario. Instead, she will face the top 1% of Lucario, and she can now understand the source of Lucario's immense power. Therefore, she will know what's up when she gets to see Lucario in action with her own eyes. This will make the battle more interesting and personal, since Cynthia now knows to expect something special. So Ash says that he can feel his aura grow when he battles with Lucario, which is what happened when they battled Raihan. Cynthia tells Ash that she is certain that fate brought him and Lucario together. Because of this, he should treasure Lucario. Vic wonders if he will also get to meet a Pokemon through fate. Ash says that he bets that this will happen. Vic is delighted when he hears this and he thanks everyone for everything they told him. He then tells Toria that it's time to go. Toria listens to her brother, but a Gossifleur soon flies by and Toria ends up chasing after the Gossifleur. Vic is forced to run after Toria, but he does say goodbye and he tells Ash and Cynthia to do their best in their battles. Cynthia then says that they should also get going and Ash agrees. The episode then cuts to the outside of Windon Stadium, where a bunch of trainers gather around a huge screen, eagerly waiting to see the battle between Diantha and Leon, which is about to begin. Now, I went into this episode knowing that the battle would be terrible, because they were going to rush it or skip most of it. So at this point in the episode, I was filled with dread, because we are almost 10 minutes into the episode here and the battle has not even started yet. And when the battle is finally about to begin, we just see it on a screen. We don't even see it for real. This shows just how little importance they give to the battle. Ash, Cynthia, and Go soon approach the stadium and they see the screen that is showing the battle. But before they can settle down to watch the battle or before they can keep walking towards the stadium, they notice that Vic is nearby and he is clearly in distress. Ash, Pikachu, Grookey, and Go all approach Vic, wondering what's wrong. Vic reveals that Toria is lost, so Ash says that they will help Vic look for her and that they will find her right away. The episode then cuts to the screen to show Leon removing his cape, since the battle begins. But the episode cuts to commercials here and when the episode resumes, we see Ash, Cynthia, Pikachu, Grookey, Vic, and Go searching for Toria. Meaning that the battle begins off screen and I knew that by the time we actually got to see it, it would already be almost over. So everyone searches for Toria but they cannot find her. However, they all soon hear something which is clearly someone or rather something singing. Vic mentions that he heard this before and Cynthia says that what they are hearing is Gossifleur singing. Go says that if they follow the singing, then perhaps they can find the Toria. And so, everyone runs in the direction of the singing. They all soon find the Toria, who is clearly in stealth mode. Vic calls out to Toria but she tells him to be quiet. Toria then reveals the reason why she wants silence, which is that Gossifleur is singing and dancing nearby, which is adorable. Everyone watches Gossifleur, who soon starts evolving, much to everyone's surprise. Gossifleur evolves of course into Eldegoss, who soon shakes, which releases a bunch of seeds that float in the air. Everyone is delighted after witnessing the evolution and seeing the seeds hover beautifully. Eldegoss then flies away alongside the seeds, which saddens Toria. Cynthia says that the seeds carry nutrients for plants and Pokemon, so Eldegoss is departing upon the wind so that it can help enrich the nature of the Galar region. Pikachu, Grookey, Toria, and Vic then all say goodbye to Eldegoss. Vic then says that he forgot about Leon. This reminds everyone of the battle and they all dash towards the stadium so that they don't miss the entire battle. Ash, Cynthia, Toria, Vic, and Go soon enter the stadium and they are all soon shocked when they see the scoreboard for the battle. Which, yeah, is very shocking. My jaw pretty much hit the floor and it stayed there for quite a while. I literally could not comprehend why they would do something like this and why they thought that this would be okay. Now, I knew going into this episode that we would not be able to see much of the battle because it would either happen mostly off screen or we would only see bits and the pieces of it, like with Ash versus Wallace. But I did not think that it would be this bad. Diantha is down 4 Pokemon at this point, so more than half of the battle is already over, and to make matters worse, Leon is only down 1 Pokemon, and with just 2 of his Pokemon, he defeated 4 of Diantha's Pokemon. This is just utterly unacceptable and disgraceful. Also at this point, I was wondering who did the heavy lifting on Leon's side. Did Dragapult and Rillaboom take down 2 opponents each? Or did one of them do more than the other? If so, who? I thought that it had to be Dragapult since it is a pseudo-legendary Pokemon, so it is, or should be, stronger than Rillaboom. I do want to mention as well that in this battle, Leon only uses the Pokemon that we already knew he had. He does not reveal any new Pokemon of his. This was likely done because said new Pokemon would probably only be shown on the scoreboard, since most of the battle was going to be skipped anyways. It's likely that they did not want to have Leon reveal new Pokemon off screen, and they also did not want to have said new Pokemon be in Rillaboom's place, which would allow them to actually have some screen time but too little for a new Pokemon, and they would be defeated soon after we got to see them in the flesh. So I think that part of the reason why they had Diantha get overwhelmed like this is that they did not want to have Leon reveal any new Pokemon. So he has to defeat Diantha with just the 3 Pokemon we know he has. This makes the whole thing even more infuriating, because they did such a disservice to Diantha, partially because of something so lame. I also want to point out that just like I expected, Diantha reveals in this episode that she has a Hawlucha, a Tyrantrum, and a Goodra. So in the anime, she does have the exact same team she has in the games. It is such a shame though that we don't get to see Hawlucha or Tyrantrum battle, and we only see Goodra battling it briefly. What a waste. So the episode finally cuts to the actual battle. As revealed by the scoreboard, Goodra and Rillaboom are currently battling. Goodra uses Fire Blast, which lands a direct hit, and Rillaboom is engulfed by the flames. However, Rillaboom somehow manages to endure the hit, and worse yet, it is even able to shatter and dissipate the flames. Like, are you kidding me? Diantha takes a step back and she exclaims, "Impossible!" with an expression of pure despair and disbelief. This is pretty much my reaction. How in the world can a grass-type Pokemon remain standing after taking a Fire Blast, which is one of the strongest Fire-type moves? Rillaboom did not even guard or anything. It did not use its drumsticks or its drums to shield itself. It just braced itself and it took the Fire Blast like a champ. Like what? This makes no sense. Especially because this is the same Rillaboom that was taken out by one Flare Blitz back in episode 115. And back then, Rillaboom had taken only 1 hit from Gyro Ball. So it was basically taken out by 1 Flare Blitz, and yet it just took a Fire Blast, no problem. And sure, Alon's Charizard is very likely stronger than Diantha's Goodra. But still, Rillaboom should not be able to eat a Fire Blast and then stand there like nothing happened. Also, since Diantha is down to her 5th Pokemon, Rillaboom had to battle more than 1 opponent. So unless Rillaboom somehow managed to avoid being hit, it should be much more hurt now than when it was hit with Flare Blitz. So even if you wanted to say that Alon's Charizard is stronger than Diantha's Goodra, the fact that Rillaboom was even more hurt and tired now should make up for any discrepancy in the power of the 2 Fire-type moves that it was hit with. Meaning that if Rillaboom was taken out by Flare Blitz before, it should have been taken out by Fire Blast now. Also, even if Diantha's Goodra is weaker than Alon's Charizard, Goodra is still a Pokemon belonging to a champion, so the difference cannot be that much. But yeah, basically, it is absolutely bananas that Rillaboom is still standing after a Fire Blast. And yes, pun intended. So after taking the Fire Blast, Rillaboom uses Acrobatics to defeat Goodra, meaning that Diantha is now down to her last Pokemon. Now we obviously don't know how much damage Goodra took before this point. Therefore, I cannot say if it is right or wrong that it was taken out by acrobatics here. What I can say is that it's insane that Rillaboom still has enough strength and stamina to leap into the air in order to use acrobatics like this. Ash says that he has never seen Diantha being so overwhelmed like this. Well, yeah, of course you haven't, since we have barely seen her battle in the anime, and this time she is up against the unbeatable plot armor. I mean, the unbeatable champion. So, Diantha sends out her final Pokemon, which is of course Gardevoir. Now Team Rocket is still live streaming the tournament, and Meowth, for whatever reason, helpfully provides a recap of the battle. I don't know why he does this, since anyone watching the live stream probably already knows what happened, but maybe he does this for new viewers that are tuning in just now. In any case, this is helpful to us, which is probably the real reason why Meowth does this. And it also allows them to still show us the whole battle in big quotations. So, based on Meowth's recap, the battle began with Dragapult versus Hawlucha. Hawlucha is seen punching Dragapult here, and I wanted to assume that this is not a fighting type move, or a normal type move for that matter, but I can't really assume this with certainty, since we then see Tyrantrum hitting Dragapult with Hyper Beam. Dragapult is of course immune to Hyper Beam, but this seems to be what defeats Dragapult, which is just wrong. So on top of butchering this battle, they also make glaring mistakes like this, which is just awful. Also, it's safe to say that Dragapult defeated Hawlucha. We then see that Rillaboom literally kicked Tyrantrum's butt, and then Rillaboom went on to defeat Aurorus and Gourgeist as well. So Rillaboom ended up taking down 4 Pokemon by itself, and 4 Pokemon belonging to a champion, no less. What? How? Why? Who thought this would be remotely acceptable or believable? Also, Rillaboom battled 3 opponents before facing Goodra, and Rillaboom likely had to battle Goodra a bit, meaning that Rillaboom was able to endure a Fire Blast after facing 4 opponents who all likely dealt damage to it. Plot armor does not even begin to cover this. Forget Arceus. Rillaboom is clearly the true god of Pokemon. Leon must have given all the vitamins in Galar to Rillaboom or something like this, because man, Rillaboom is overpowered as heck. Also, they expect us to believe that this same Rillaboom, who defeated 4 of Diantha's Pokemon and took a Fire Blast to the face no problem, is the same Rillaboom that only managed to defeat one of Alon's Pokemon, and this was after Rillaboom Gigantamaxed. So either they are telling us that Diantha is weaker than Alon, or Rillaboom got that much stronger since episode 115, or Alon's Charizard is just that powerful, or that Alon made the right choice by sending out his Charizard to take care of Rillaboom fast, because otherwise Rillaboom would have destroyed Alon's entire team except for Charizard. In any case, Rillaboom's power is obviously inconsistent. Also, if they were going to have one Pokemon sweep Diantha's team like this, then it would have been more believable if Charizard, who is Leon's ace, or Dragapult, who is a pseudo-legendary Pokemon, had done it. Now James wonders what Jessie's impressions are of the battle. But Jessie is dejected and she says Gourgeist lost, so who cares anymore? Glad to see that they decided to follow up what happened in episode 116. So Gardevoir begins with Shadow Ball, but Rillaboom uses Knockoff both to shatter the Shadow Ball and to attack. But Gardevoir easily avoids the knockoff. Gardevoir then uses Psychic to finally knock out Rillaboom, ending its winning streak. I do want to mention here that Rillaboom is apparently so strong that it can only be defeated by the opponent's ace. Now the announcer says that Diantha's counterattack begins. This is just laughable and honestly insulting, because there is just no way that Diantha and Gardevoir can defeat 4 Pokemon. Especially not 4 Pokemon belonging to plot armor. I mean Leon. Therefore, it feels like they are just trying to alleviate this mess by giving us false hopes. So Leon withdraws Rillaboom and he says that Rillaboom fought well, which is a huge understatement. Leon then sends out his 3rd Pokemon, which is Charizard, ensuring that Leon won't have to reveal any new Pokemon of his. Diantha, knowing who she is up against, wastes no time. She Mega Evolves Gardevoir right away so that they can battle at full power. Now for whatever reason, Leon says, "Oh, so you are using Mega Evolution?" And I'm like, well yeah, what else do you expect her to do? In response to Mega Gardevoir, Leon Gigantamaxes Charizard. And so, Mega Gardevoir is soon faced with Gigantamax Charizard. Gardevoir begins with a super effective Thunderbolt, which manages to push Charizard back, but it still stands strong. Charizard then strikes back with G-Max Wildfire, which flies around Gardevoir, who is soon trapped in a flaming vortex that lifts and continuously hurts it. However, Gardevoir soon uses Psychic to take control of the G-Max Wildfire, and Gardevoir manages to throw the G-Max Wildfire right back to Charizard. This shocks everyone, including Leon, who says that's pretty good. Charizard counters the returning G-Max Wildfire with Max Airstream. The 2 moves clash and Gardevoir uses all its power to push the G-Max Wildfire forward with Psychic. Eventually, the G-Max Wildfire absorbs the Max Airstream and it becomes even stronger. I have to say that this whole sequence is the one good part of this battle. While the battle as a whole is just plain awful, these few moments at least are pretty cool. So at full power, Gardevoir uses the triple move cluster that it has to attack Charizard. However, Charizard fights fire with fire. It uses G-Max Wildfire again, which punches through the cluster of moves and it lands a direct hit on Gardevoir, who is knocked out. Now 2 things here. First, Gardevoir was 2-shotted, which just feels wrong. Second, how in the world can G-Max Wildfire punch through another G-Max Wildfire? Especially when this other G-Max Wildfire was powered up by both Max Airstream and Psychic. This does not make any sense. So Vic says that Charizard is so strong. Ash agrees with Vic and he says that it's almost unbelievable. Vic then says that he wants to have cool battles just like Leon. Cynthia says that Vic will have to adventure a lot, catch a lot of Pokemon, and battle a lot. Vic says that he will do all of this and that when he has his Pokemon, he wants to battle Ash and Cynthia. Toria says that she wants to battle them as well. Man, you just have to admire these kids. They are not even trainers yet and they are already aiming to battle champions. Now this is what you call ambition. Ash accepts the challenge and Go mentions that Cynthia and Ash got themselves some little rivals. So Diantha withdraws and thanks Gardevoir. She then congratulates Leon, who infuriatingly says that Diantha had him sweating time and time again, and that he was just lucky today. This is just so disrespectful. How is having one Pokemon defeat 4 Pokemon something that would make you sweat? Like, come on! And how is defeating your opponent's 6 Pokemon with just 3 of yours lucky? Like seriously, this comment just disgraces Diantha even more. Why? Why would you have Leon say this? Is this supposed to make us feel better? Like, yeah, Diantha was absolutely destroyed, but it's okay, Leon was just lucky. No, just no. This is hogwash. This is just awful writing and it made me so mad. Now Ash witnesses this exchange between his fellow champions with a very serious expression. I guess that he now realizes just how powerful Leon is, and he now knows that it won't be easy to defeat Leon. The episode ends with Cynthia smiling as she watches Ash stare off into the distance. He is likely contemplating what awaits him in his next battles. So overall, I am very much mixed on this episode, though I am leaning more towards hate than like. The first half of the episode was good. It was nice to see Cynthia in a casual outfit just enjoying some free time for a change, especially since we got to see how she and Garchomp train. It was great to see Ash and Cynthia interact just before their battle. Toria and Vic were adorable, and I love that their inexperience, thirst for adventure and battles, and their ambitious dreams are in stark contrast to the Masters 8, who have all been through so much already, and thus they are far more experienced, and they are much closer to their dreams. At the same time though, Toria and Vic also love Pokemon a lot, so you know that they have a bright future ahead of them. So basically, Toria and Vic perfectly embody a lot of the themes that have been showcased in the Masters Tournament. And their appearance just before one of the biggest battles in the history of the anime is very meaningful, since they remind us of just how far the other characters have come and how much they still have left to go. It's also great that we got to learn about Cynthia's childhood. She was absolutely adorable, and it's nice that Garchomp was her first Pokemon. If only we could have learned more. I could totally watch an entire episode focused on her past. The second half of the episode, on the other hand, was simply terrible. I was really not expecting much, and they still managed to disappoint and anger me. It is absolutely terrible and disgraceful that when we finally get to the battle, Diantha is already down 4 Pokemon, and soon after, she is down to just Gardevoir. To make matters worse, Leon only had to use 2 Pokemon to defeat 5 of Diantha's Pokemon. It's like Diantha is not a champion. Like, why bother have Leon face another champion if you are going to reduce the other champion to cannon fodder? You might as well just have Leon battle some random filler character. Diantha could not even showcase the amazing strategies and the tactics that allowed her to triumph over Lance. I absolutely cannot forgive what they did to Diantha. She really, definitely, absolutely deserved so much better. And the writers should be ashamed of this mess that they concocted. Especially because it just makes Leon worse as a character. Because his immense power is clearly devoid of logic and sense. There is no reason behind his strength. He is just completely overpowered in a way that leaves no room for competition or for interesting battles. Instead, no one, even if they are a champion, can stand in Leon's way. Because if they do, then they will be crushed mercilessly in a one-sided manner that makes them look weak and powerless. They basically just serve to make Leon look stronger. They are just another victory to add to Leon's track record. They are just sacrifices to make Leon look better. And in fact, they have made Leon look so overwhelmingly strong that one has to wonder if Ash even has a chance of defeating Leon. And if he does defeat Leon, then it will be unbelievable unless they find a believable way to have Ash defeat someone so broken. Ash winning would also make him significantly stronger than everyone that has lost to Leon, which just feels like too much. Now, the battle was not completely horrible. I do think that Charizard vs Gardevoir was okay. It really needed it to be much better, but at least it wasn't a total disaster. I did love when Gardevoir used a Psychic to take control of the G-Max Wildfire in order to attack Charizard with it. However, this one good moment cannot save such a terrible and horrible train wreck of a battle. So yeah, overall, this episode was both good and terrible at the same time. But I think that the bad overcomes the good. Therefore, I hate the episode overall, and I seriously hope that Ash vs Cynthia and Ash vs Leon will be the best battles ever. Because at this point, I firmly believe that the Masters Tournament is a massive failure. But I am not holding my breath. I really have no hope anymore. Because if they can deliver such an atrocious episode, even after taking several breaks and giving us 2 recap episodes, then I feel that there really is no hope left. Which is why I no longer expect anything good. But that's the video, as always. Leave your own thoughts down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and would like to see more like it, then please consider subscribing to my channel. I love Pokemon and I love making videos on both the anime and the games. Also, please consider clicking the links on screen so that you can check out more videos like this right away. Thank you very much for watching, and let's meet again in the next video.